Hi everyone, Coach Brian here, and I'm so excited to actually have this video because it's the first time I've done what's called the weekly thought in almost a decade. Interestingly, I used to write a weekly devotional. I started with a few people on an email list and worked its way up to over 800 in several years, and I got great feedback from it. And it was really cool, but then I got to the place where I really couldn't do it every week. So I discontinued it, but a bunch of people had said, Brian, could you put that into a book? So my very first book called Walk with God Today, which is still has the most downloads of all the books yet, came from that weekly devotional. And so I really felt in my heart to start doing that weekly devotional again. So here we are at round 2 of what's called the weekly thought, and haven't done this for, again, quite a few years, but now I feel like this could also turn into another book. So who knows, these weekly devotions that you're getting, one day you could see them in a Walk with God sequel. But let's get it kicked off. The very first one that I'm putting out there, and then look for this weekly. And just to let you know, if you're seeing this through Facebook or YouTube or things like that, make sure to get on the email list because there's additional things that go with each of these weekly thoughts. And today I'm going to use one that's called, it's titled, The Power of Politics. So lots happening in our country and around the world with politics. What really is politics? It's defined as the art or science of government. So sometimes it doesn't seem very artful, just literally seems like power struggles and pushiness and insincerity and lots of other things happening. But that's what it's supposed to be. In the United States, if you live in the United States, we're supposed to have all these checks and balances to help balance out what the government is. Other countries, sometimes it's literally a king or a dictator that's put in place with nobody's vote an option. But ultimately, it really comes down to the heart of those leading a country. And what are their motives? What's their heart? What do they focus on? And that's where the country's going to go, ultimately. But regardless of who is in leadership, the thing that we all have to remember as Christians is the greatest power to shift a nation is not in its government. The greatest power is from God. And so regardless of who is in position, there's certain things we're supposed to do as Christians, including pray for our leaders, be able to lift them up to God and do our part. But ultimately, we have to look to where the real answers are and the one who establishes every country in the first place. And so from the heart of a nation, if the heart of the nation is for God, it will ultimately then help change that nation. So if your heart's for God and you're living for God and focused on God, pray for your leaders. But remember, the very best way to change a country, period, is love. Jesus came and they wanted to make him the leader of all of Israel. Because remember, when Jesus was here, Rome was actually the governing force. And instead of taking over and just being the king here on earth and sitting on a throne and taking over even from Rome, he said, we need to love. And when we love, it changes the world. And our final government or leadership when we leave this earth is heaven. And so we need to live like heaven while we're here. We need to be the right person. Obviously, vote. You should vote. If you didn't vote and you don't normally vote, make sure you do that consistently every time there's an opportunity. If God calls you to leadership, go into leadership. But ultimately, put your faith and trust in God. Love like he calls you to love. And if enough of us in this country did all that, it would then change this country. It would change the world ultimately. So again, make sure if you're not on the email list to get on there and you'll get some additional things through this weekly thought. I hope and pray you have a great week and talk to you soon.